Hey guys, Urban Combat Survivor here. Wanted to make a video today talking about the single most important thing that you can put away. The single most important item that you can have in your preparations stash. And it's an item that I haven't seen not one single person tell you about. Not one. I've searched YouTube with a lot of different keywords and it didn't come back with a single hit. So first I'm going to tell you what it is, and then I'm going to tell you why it's more important than your weapon. It's more important than your ammunition. It's more important than your food and your water. More important than any other single item. And it's this right here. Tiny, thin. You can put this thing, I mean, look at it. It's tiny. You can put that in your bug out bag. As a matter of fact, you should put a copy of it in your bug out bag and put a copy with your food store and maybe a copy in your glove box. And what it is the Constitution of the United States of America. And let me tell you now why. Why is this thing more important than the defense rifle that you're going to be using to defend your life? I'm about to tell you. If it all breaks down, if it all goes to hell, you don't know how long it's going to be that way. And people need to think long term. People need to think longer term than just surviving the first few weeks. If it breaks down, I mean, if it truly breaks down, if we're truly without the rule of law, then the absolute most important thing we can prepare to do is to reestablish that rule of law. It may take weeks, months, years. We don't know. Nobody knows. But I can tell you that no matter how long it takes, hundreds of years, no matter how long it takes, the single most important thing is going to be the Constitution of the United States of America. This is the reason we're all preparing. What if we all prepped and we survived and we lived through the hell and nobody had thought to save a copy of this? When everything burns, when all the museums are looted, when everything is destroyed, what if you don't have a copy of this? It's a work of genius. It's a work that took months of debate among very educated men, and men with very good, clear thinking and good hearts. Men of means who decided that you, who may not have means, should still have rights. The concept of true freedom is established in that tiny little pamphlet. If you don't have a copy, if no one has a copy, how do we start it again? How do we start it again without all the bullshit that was added to it after this point? And do it right the next time, hopefully, or better. That's why this is more important than your rifle. More important than your food. This is an old copy, so there's newer ones. They're laminated and they have, they're even a little thinner. Mine has a copy of the Declaration of Independence. It also has some other notes and indexes in it. So this one, surprisingly, is actually thicker. This tiny little thing is actually bigger than it has to be. But I like it. This is also an old version. Let me look, what's the date on it? 1959. So this is an old version. I prefer the old version because actually you're going to want to be careful when you do pick one up. You're going to want to be careful because a lot of the new versions that you can pick up at stores are altered. They change the words. They go in there and they edit and they take out things that somebody somewhere might find offensive one day. And they rearrange some of the words a little bit. But the words were put in precisely this order because it conveys an exact message. And if they change those words, they are ever so slightly editing the message. So, I don't find that acceptable. So, when I read it, I generally read it online because this is, like I said, an older copy, and I'd like it to survive. And I'd like my son to have it one day. If we all make it through, if some of us make it through, and everything else has been lost, this thing, man, this is how we're going to redo it. This is how we're going to rebuild. You want long-term sustainability? That's it right there. You can put it in a folded t-shirt and you'll never even notice it's there. Weighs less than an ounce. And it's more important than anything, at least in my opinion. You can disagree. But if you don't, make sure you have a copy, at least one. Pick up a couple. One in your bug-out bag, one in your wife's bug-out bag. Keep one, in your gun safe. Keep one at the location you think you're going to go to. Make sure you're always going to have a copy if you lose a bunch of them. If you lose your bug-out bag on the way, have a copy there already just in case. While you're at it, when you go pick a copy up, have you ever read it? Have you ever really read this? Hell, it only takes an hour. But the thinking process after you've read it, the true understanding of what it's really about, you'll think about that for the rest of your life. I reread it about once a year. I take that hour. And I'll tell you why. As I get older, I'm in my mid-30s, and as I get older, I realize my perspective changes on things. My memory might change a little bit on things. I might remember something worded a little differently, or a concept that maybe I misunderstood before. So I reread it, and it gives me a fresh understanding of truly what this country is about, what this country is founded on. Now, there's lots of debate and argument. America's about this, America's about that. Well, let me tell you, this is what America's about. We, the people of the United States, that's what this country is about. In order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure, in capitals, the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. That means us. We're the posterity, folks. Those people sat and wrote this. They debated it. They made it. For us, not for them. They were all rich. Every one of them was loaded. Are you loaded? No. But you have the freedom. You enjoy the freedom that they documented. They didn't give you that freedom. They documented it in the Declaration of Independence and in the Constitution of the United States of America. Read it. Read it and understand it. It takes an hour to read it. I bet 95% of the people out there making these videos, making these prep videos, talking about this, talking about that, I bet you 95% of them haven't read this thing. Not even once. Not all the way, not all of it. Oh, they might have glanced at this amendment or a quote in some news article somewhere. But have you read it? Do you understand it? Yeah, the wording's a little old. The Declaration of Independence was signed July 4th, 1776. So, the English is a little old, and it takes a little while to understand certain parts And of course, the meaning of some words has changed. For instance, gay used to mean happy. You say you're gay now, it means something different. So read it and understand it in the context of the time in which it was written. And understand it's not a living document. This is a declaration of rights that you have, endowed by your Creator, whoever that is for you, with certain unalienable, that means they can't be taken away from you for anything, unalienable rights. How many of you really understand what's in there? How many of you understand the way we're set up? I know they don't teach it in school. My son's 18 years old. He's starting college. They don't teach this in school. When I was in school, they didn't teach it. You know, we learned in American history. Learned about the friggin' Civil War, about slavery, about the abolishment of slavery. That's all it was about. It didn't tell you what these people gave. It didn't tell you their history. They gave up everything for this country. Read a little bit about it. Read the history. Read about the fact that, you know, the first money inspector in this country was Martha Washington. Do you know why? The reason she was the first money inspector is Martha Washington was independently wealthy. She was independently wealthy of George Washington. She had her own family money. She donated her family tea set. The tea set that her mother had given her and that her grandmother had given her mother and had been in her family. A personal, cherished family heirloom. I'm sure she could have scrounged up silver from someplace else. And she gave other silver. But she gave that. A woman who was independently wealthy. She didn't need to give that. Why did she give that? Because she believed. She believed in what we were doing in this country. She believed in this. She believed in her husband. She believed in her family. She believed in the idea of freedom. That's all freedom is. It's an idea. It's an idea that once it's out, man, it's viral. Freedom is in your heart. You know it's yours. It should always be yours. Because freedom isn't given to you by anybody. You're born with that concept. Endowed by your Creator with certain unalienable rights. Do you have one of these in your bug out bag? If you don't, maybe you should go get one. If you don't have the couple bucks, print one. Print one off the internet. Ask your friend to print you one if you don't have a printer. Read it. Read it and understand it. And make sure, above all, make sure you save it. Urban Combat Survivor, signing off.